Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto was the god of space, time and will. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends and social media platform. And also guys, remember if you're new, stick around because I'm going to be posting a brand new episode on Anime King and Anime King 3. Yes, that's correct if you're new. I indeed have 3 channels that I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Let's get right into it guys. Start the intro. So the last time we left off, there was an epic showdown between Haku, Akisake, and Yujito that made Naruto realize that she contained the two tails. Several other individuals went down there. There was a girl called Orihime, as she had these strange abilities, as she caught Naruto's interest. As he introduced himself to her, there was another one, as she was able to make Kankuro give up instantly, as she had these strange abilities as well. Naruto's name was finally called, as he was supposed to face off against his sister and another. Making his way down there calmly, his sister started to say that he didn't stand a chance against her. As Sarutobi knew that this would be bad, Naruto started to laugh, as he found it rather amusing. At first he was going to take it easy on her, because she didn't know any better, but boasting that she was better than him. Naruto dropped into a stance, as he started the fight. The battlefield became chaotic. She didn't stand a chance in hell, as she was beaten from left to right. But she then started to tap into the power of the Kyuubi, as she started to lash out at him. But to her shock and everyone else, he was able to evade and speed the strikes. He was just so fast. He then did something, and next thing she knew, she was in her cage, where the Kyuubi was, as Naruto took the Kyuubi's power, and she passed out, as he calmly made his way back up the stairs, every one of them looking at him with a complete shock. Some time passed after that, as Naruto was called to the office, Minato being there curious about what Naruto did to Naruto. As Naruto told him straight that he took the Kyuubi, he didn't have time to talk with them or wait on their nonsense, so he excused himself to the Hokage. With that he made his way back, as Haku had lost, but she'll be ready for the next time. There was another fight, as Zabuza started training her from then. As Naruto decided to continue with his plan, first thing first, he went after Gaara, and he took the Shikaku from him, as he wiped Gaara's mind of the event. He then made his way to find Yujito. After finding her, he faced off against the Nibi in her mind. The Nibi tried to fight him, as Naruto made the Nibi submit, as she called him the leader of the 9. His full title not yet revealed, but Naruto beat the Nibi. Yujito woke up as she was confused to what was going on, but Naruto put her back to sleep, erasing her memories of this moment. With that, he returned back home. As Naruto looked towards a map where all of the other tail beasts were, he created 2 powerful blood clones and sent them out to gather the others, as he would be collecting them in a month time period. As he reached for the Righteous Blade, upon touching it because its powers had been activated, the sword also went into a change. It switched into a more powerful blade, the electricity now feeling like a godly weapon, as Naruto was ready to begin the hunt. So yeah guys, basically let's left off. You guys can switch across the place, check out yourself so as to be in this new episode. Let's get right into it guys. We begin this episode the next day after Naruto had collected the 1 and 2 tails. As he had changed his uniform, he was wearing a black shirt with mesh armor underneath it. The shirt also had his signature face mask. On his arm he had leather gauntlets. He was wearing camo pants and leather boots. He also had a brown cloak, the hood coming down. He also had a white mask on his belt. And on the left was a Raijin blade. On his back there was a scroll. He nodded to himself in the mirror as he made his way down to the kitchen. He came to a stop when he saw Haku in the kitchen, drinking a cup of tea. But that was not the weird thing. It was Kin, as she was dressed in a maid uniform. Kin. What the hell is that? Said Naruto. Kin spun around. Good morning, master, she said. As Naruto looked at her, why are you wearing that? She blushed a bit. Zabuza-san said I should wear this if I wish to please you, she said. As the vein on Naruto's forehead popped, Zabuza! He yelled. As he disappeared in the living room, Haku sighed as Naruto came back after. There was a couple of screams. Not from him. Kin, you don't need to wear that. She scratched her cheek. I don't mean to be rude, master, but I like wearing it, she said. Naruto shrugged. Fine. Wear what you like, he said. You two, come with me to the living room, he said. Moments later, a bandaged Zabuza, along with Haku and Kin, was in there. Alright, I call you guys here to let you know that the Chunin exam finals start in 1 month. During that time, I won't be in Konoha. I want you three to take care of the castle. He turned towards Haku and Kin. I want you two to train as much as you can. As Naruto then turned towards Zabuza, do you still have connections? Rogue ninjas like the Demon Brothers who are capable of battling? Zabuza thought about it as he nodded. I know a few that will be capable of battling. Not a large number, but I know that you prefer quality over quantity. I do, said Naruto. Recruit them. I will speak with the Hokage so that they are under my protection. As Zabuza nodded, he patted Kin on the head. See you in a month, he said. With that he was gone. Hokage's office. Alright, I understand. When Zabuza bring them, I will add them under your clan name. Thanks, said Naruto. I also came here to let you know I won't be here for the month. I will be out to train. Harrison looked at him. Like you need training, he said in a sarcastic way. But I won't say anything. However, I do have a gift for you. As Harrison pulled out a box and gave it to him. As Naruto took it and opened it, he was surprised to what he saw. Inside was a mask. It was black and shaped like a wolf. It had red whiskers and kanji for death on the forehead. As he looked at it and touched it, Harrison smiled. It is the same mask you once wore, said Harrison. I was going to give it to your successor, but I know that none would deserve this title. Besides, it's not like you're going to die anytime soon. I'm sure of that, Harrison said. As Naruto nodded his head in thanks, as he placed the mask under his cloak, as he thanked Harrison once again, before he left the building, Harrison smirked. The Yoekame no Shi is coming back, Harrison thought, with a smile on his face. As Naruto proceeded towards the gate, when Gaara appeared. As Naruto wondered if he remembered. Gaara bowed his head. I wish to become your subordinate, he said. As Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why, he said. You cure me of my insomnia. You took away the demon that has been tormenting me for the most of my life. With this, I have a purpose. As Naruto stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. Rise, Sabukuna Gaara, he said. As Gaara lifted his head up, don't speak with anyone else about this. If you have anything to say, send me a summon tomorrow. As Gaara nodded. The preparations are almost over, Naruto thought. Soon it will start. As he proceeded towards the gate. Time skip. Konoha Stadium. The day had finally arrived. The big day that each genin has been waiting for. The day the Chunin exam finals will commence, where the young ninjas will show their skills for the chance to become a Chunin. It was also the first day in history where all 5 Kages would observe a Chunin exam finals together. The stadium was filled to the brim with shinobis and civilians alike. Ninjas from all over the world had came. Daimyos, lords. The place was packed. Down in the arena stood 8 genin and 1 Genma. As Genma moved the senbon stick in his mouth, glanced over the arena. There was a lot of people here to come to watch the Chunin exams. Well, he didn't expect any less. Most of the genins looked up in wonder, some of them being rather indifferent towards the crowd, not really finding that spectacular. They were just here to move on to become Chunin. Narumi on the other hand turned her head, as he was not here. "Don't worry, he will come," said Genma. As Narumi sighed and turned her head, Narumi was now wearing a full red bodysuit with a mesh armor. Above that she had Anvu protection gear that was made of top quality steel. On her waist was her kodiki and on her back was her tashi, with 2 kunai holsters on her hips. And she had changed her hairstyle to a high ponytail. She was ready for war, it seems. In the stands, the shinobis were talking amongst themselves. The hottest topic was the first fight. Uzumaki Naruto versus Namikaze Narumi. 2 strongest genin going against each other right off the bat. While genins and chonins thought that Narumi would win, the jonins bet on Naruto for a good reason. As serious or pissed off Naruto was the last thing that anyone would ever see. In the middle of the stadium, the opposite of the Kage box, the Namikaze family was sitting. They were smiling, but on the inside, they were worried. Their 2 children wanted to fight, but they couldn't cheer for one. If they cheer for Narumi, the gap between Naruto would go deeper and invoke Narumi's wrath. If they cheer for Naruto, they would cheer for the one that caused their daughter so much pain, and Naruto wouldn't even like it. So the best was to just sit down and observe the match. Naruko was silent. Most of her injuries had been healed, but she still had bandages all over her chest. Next to the 2 stood Asuma Sarutobe and Kurina Ui and my guy. Naruko held her chest as she glanced down. He was not here yet. Meanwhile, in the Kage's booth, in the upper middle part of the stadium box, 3 of the 5 Kages were sitting. The 3rd Hokage, the 4th Kazekage, and the 5th Mizukage. The Kazekage had auburn hair and black eyes. His mouth was hidden with a mask, and he wore the Kazekage robes. The 5th Mizukage was a slender woman with auburn brown hair and green eyes, as she was wearing a long blue dress with mesh armor underneath it. They were speaking about politics. The door then opened up. First came a tall, dark-skinned man with a very muscular build. Short platinum blonde hair that was combed back with a mustache and a goatee. He wore a white Hiyori with the Raikage's hat. It was none other than the Raikage. Next to him was a short man with spiky dark hair. One of his eyes were covered by an eye patch. He wore the standard Jonin outfit for Kumo. After him there was a short man with a triangle beard and a mustache, and a large red nose. He was bald, with a ponytail that only came from top of his head. It was none other than Oniki himself. There was a Jonin standing behind him, who had short dark grey hair and brown eyes. As the Kages and their bodyguards bow, Yaten bows in return. Hiruzen smiled. "Welcome, Raikage." "Tishikage," he said. "Thank you for attending," he said. He got a nod from Oniki and a grunt from E. It was then that Mei noticed there was other seats. "Excuse me, Hokage Dono. Who are we ex?" She was cut off as the door opened up. As 2 men entered. The first man had black hair that was tied in a ponytail with red eyes. He wore black bandages all over his body, leaving his face only visible, and he was wearing a purple robe. He also held a strange katana. The man next to him had long grey hair, a beard. His purple eyes were so piercing as he gave off a feeling of power. His left cheek also had a scar on it. He wore a royal blue kimono, decorated whirlpools, and white hakama pants. Hiruzen bowed. "I would like to introduce Uzumaki Kenshin, the first Namikaze, and wants a seat to the successor of the Uzukage." As the room was shocked by that, as Kenshin looked at all of them, he greeted them with a simple bow. Meanwhile, with Minato and Kushina, 3 men and a woman sat in a line next to the both of them. The woman was a tall Kunoichi. She had green hair but her bangs were orange. She had brown eyes, as her name was Pakura, the legendary user of the Scorch release. Next to her was a young man with short blue hair and dark eyes. He had short light teeth and black glasses. As he wore camo pants, there was a massive sword on his back with 2 hilts, showing. His name was Kodro, wielder of one of the legendary blades. Next to him was a dark-skinned man with platinum hair and sunglasses. This was Killer B, brother of the Raikage. Last was a tall man with grey hair, with a goatee and yellow eyes. He was wearing a headband that waved insignia. When Kushina saw him, her eyes widened. It can't be. You're dead. The man lighted a cigarette as he smirked. Who is he? Kushina asked. It's been what? Was the princess he asked. 20, 30 years? As for who I am, Hajime Saito. As Kushina gasped. Impossible. The wolf of the whirlpool died at Uzu. Who are you? She said. The man took a puff from his cigarette. Yet here I am, he said. But me and your father, we're not here for you. We're here for him, as he looked down towards the arena. Kushina's gaze narrowed. Father? She said to herself. In the arena, only Genma and Narumi was in there. That is when a black smoke gathered around. A figure started to rise from the ground. He was wearing a black cloak. As he rose up, taking off the cloak, he threw it as it poofed away. Black boots and black pants. He was wearing a sleeveless leather jacket, black fingerless gloves with metal plating on it, as a Raijin blade strapped on his waist. His black hair with gold tips shining rather brightly. Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, said Genma. Or should I say, Konoha, Oikami no Shi, the Wolf of Death, in the Kage's boot. He turned his head towards Hokage. Is this true? Hiruzen nodded. You are looking at the Wolf of Death, Konoha top assassin and predator. As Mei narrowed her eyes as she looked over the person down there. He was rather handsome. As Tenshin smiled to himself, he turned towards his guard that came with him. Look at my grandson, Shishio, he said, as Shishio only nodded, as Hiruzen smiled. Back in the stands, as Guy was yelling rather proudly, Kurenai turned towards him. You knew? Of course, said Guy. I trained young Naruto-kun in taijutsu myself. Look at his flames of youth! The Genins couldn't believe it. They had heard about the Wolf of Death, but he was supposed to be one of Konoha's top envoys. It was Naruto? Now that was shocking. People were beyond eager as Genma didn't waste any time. Begin, he said. Narumi pulled out a hail of cones as she launched them towards Naruto. As she didn't waste time as she moved the moment she threw them, but they embedded in the ground. She turned around as he stomped his foot in the ground, already behind her. He's fast. The ground cracked as she jumped away. He blasted forward as he threw an elbow strike towards her. She dodged as he hit the arena. The wall completely caved in. Narumi appeared behind him as she lashed out with a punch. He blocked it and grabbed her arm as he swung her away. He then flashed in front of her. She kicked off the ground, dodging his punch. He appeared behind her. She turned around as he smashed right through her butt. She substituted with a log. As the real Narumi appeared, shocked at his speed, she pulled out her Tashi blade as she coated in wind chakra. As Naruto slowly pulled out the Raijin, she charged at him as her body stopped. She started to walk calmly, watching him very keenly. For a moment there, it seems like she was charging into her death. He appeared in front of her as she blocked as a Kinjutsu match ensued. She tried to push him back, but there was no openings. There was not even one, as she gave it everything she had. Blades clashed as sparks flew. The ground beneath her started to crack as he was just so much stronger. His power. Her blade was being overwhelmed. Even with her blade coated in wind chakra, it was breaking. She yelled in pain as rings of lightning came from the Raijin and electrocuted her arms. He turned and kicked her straight in the ear as she gasped out. In mid-air though, she swung her blade as a torrent of wind came whipping out of it towards him. He used lightning itself and sliced the wind in half and shot a beam of lightning towards her. She once again substituted as the log was blown into pieces. She landed as she raised her blade, but Naruto's blade came down on it and blew it to pieces. She was forced to jump back. The only thing remaining in her hand was a handle. Despite wind chakra, he was able to shatter it that easily. She tossed it towards him as he simply tilted his head as it passed him. She threw 20 kunais towards him. Kunai clone jutsu, she said. The 20 kunai became 20,000. As Naruto stabbed its blade in the ground, a massive lightning barrier erupted and deflected every single one of them. He then pulled the blade out of the ground. It started crackling with electricity. A black cloud started gathering above them, as a beam of lightning came down and shot towards Narumi. It was about to hit her, but it was stopped by a force of energy. The lightning stopped, and a blue beam shot towards him. Naruto's body was thrown. He cracked into the wall, the mask cracking a bit on his face. He watched Narumi keenly as her hand was raised, stopping the beam of lightning as it dissipated. He focused on her eyes that were now blue, with 4 rings in each of them. As Narumi frowned, "I didn't thought I would have to use it so early," she said. "Brother, be proud to feel the power of the Rinnegan." Naruto pulled himself out of the wall. Back in his stance, the Jonins gawk. She has the Rinnegan? "What's that?" Kurenai asked. As Kushina turned towards the woman and explained, "The Rinnegan, said to be the strongest dojutsu, that was rumored to be wielded by the Sage of Six Paths himself. It is activated by some members of the Uzumaki clan, and rarely from members of the Senjo and Uchiha. It allows complete control of the elements, along with several other abilities." Kurenai was shocked, as Sato did not say anything. Back in the Kage's booth, the Kages were also surprised. "She has the Rinnegan. You knew this, Hiruzen?" asked Onki. "No." Azuraza raised the eyebrow. I wonder what the wolf will do now," because the Kage said. Kenshin narrowed his eyes. "So my granddaughter has unlocked the Rinnegan. I wonder what you will do, Naruto," he thought. Back in the arena, Narumi created 2 clones, a mixture of wind bullets, along with massive earth bullets, as she herself created an inferno. As she sent everything forward, Naruto dodged all the attacks. She then raised her arm. "Universal pull," she said. As Naruto's body was yanked, the 2 clones flashed through hand sign. One shot a jet of water towards him, the other one shot electricity towards him. The result was Naruto getting hit and a massive explosion occurring. Narumi clones this spell as Narumi raised her hand. Almighty push! As Naruto was sent sailing as he crashed into the wall. He pulled himself out as a red flash appeared right next to him. As Narumi pulled her hand back, "Rasengan," she said. She slammed it right into him as he slammed deeper in the wall. She panted. "That was for Naruto," she said. Laughter could be heard as the wall started to tremble until it exploded. Her body was launched away as she crashed hard. As Naruto stepped out, laughing like a maniac, his mask had large cracks on it. He kept on laughing, the chakra spike rising and rising and rising, until he consumed it all back, calming himself from destroying the entire place. She looked towards his mask as she saw a bright golden light, but the mask was holding back fractions of it. Naruto took the mask off as his eyes were closed as he sealed the mask away. As Naruto opened his eyes, he had the Rinnegan as well, but his were golden, with a golden slit in the center. "Let's see how your Rinnegan does against mine," he said. As Naruto stood there, she gulped. Up in the Kage's booth, he was furious. "Him too," he said. As Hiruzen's sweat dropped, "I kinda knew he had that." As Raza turned towards the man, "Are you sure this is fair for him to even participate? He's beyond an Envu commander." As Oniki nodded as he agreed with that, Terumi on the other hand, she licked her lips. As Tenshin smirked. "That's my grandson," he said. Up in the stand, Sato smirked. "What else do you have to show, Uzumaki?" Naruto's eyes were wide as saucers. Minato couldn't believe it. "He have the Rinnegan as well, but his were golden." As Kushina held her chest, back down the arena. "Almighty push," both of them said. The 2 attacks cancel each other out, but Naruto said it once again. Her eyes went wide as her body was thrown. "That's impossible," she thought, as her body broke into the wall. Naruto smirked. Universal pull. As he yanked her towards him. You need 8 seconds for you to reuse the almighty push. I need none, said Naruto. It seems you haven't been practicing all that much. Well, allow me to show you the full power of the Rinnegan. His left arm transformed into a pistol. To her amazement, she flashed through hands and launched a wind jutsu towards him, but the beam cut right through it, but took away some of its strength. But it still slammed into her though as she was then sailing. She was panting on the ground. He then fired numerous rockets at her. Her armor cracked as she was thrown back. His arms then returned back to normal. Summoning jutsu, he said. 2 enormous birds arrived wearing gun eyes and launched themselves towards her. She raised both hands. Almighty push, she said, using a lot of energy as she blew and dispersed them. She then created a Rasengan. As she added wind chakra, it started to screech and spin and spin and spin. Wind release, she said. Spiraling shuriken! She rushed at him as Naruto stood there. A barrier stopped her technique. He didn't even move. He then grabbed her arms and kneed her in the stomach as she collapsed on the ground. He walked past her as she turned. BAM! A brutal kick to the face knocked her away. She took her blade and launched it towards him. A strange head with the Rinnegan eyes appeared behind him and grabbed the blade and swallowed it. You have yet to touch the surface of the Rinnegan. How disappointing. She got to her feet shakily. I won't lose, she said, as she shot her chakra change towards him. And what will you do, said Naruto as he appeared behind her. Your kunais were destroyed in the battle. Your swords are gone. And you used up most of your chakra already. Her chains came flying back towards him. As he dodged once again before he appeared in front of her. A brutal kick that sent her sailing. But he caught her leg and smashed her in the ground. She roared as she made her Rasengan and launched towards him. But he backhanded her away. As the Rasengan destroyed the ground. She panted. She slowly picked herself up as she dropped back down as she launched a single kunai towards him. He dodged it as she appeared, grabbing the kunai in a red flash. Her body weakly creating a Rasengan as she brought it down. Naruto simply smirked as he disappeared in a black flash and appeared behind her. 2 Rasengan in both arms. Rasengan barrage, he said. He planted them in her back. She screamed as he collapsed. Boom! Once smoke cleared, he stood over her. If you had mastered the Rinnegan, and also have the full Kyuubi, the fight would have been entertaining. At least, said Naruto, as he walked away, looking awfully disappointed. As the medics had to rush over and take her to the hospital. Up in the stands, Naruto was shocked. All of them were, as Minato couldn't believe it. He used the Harashin without a seal. Minato thought. He mastered the Rinnegan, Kushina thought. The Genins were all gaping from the battle as a crowd erupted into cheers. Even the Kage's boots were clapping. Harrison, I'm so proud of you, Naruto-kun, he thought. In the Genin waiting room as Naruto stepped in, Shikamaru leaned up against a wall. Troublesome. That's all he had to say. As Samui and Kurosaki were in complete shock. Gaara and Yujito was looking towards him. Gaara nodded. Yujito scowled a bit. Orihime was blushing towards him. Rias winked towards him as Sasuke nodded. As Naruto then paused and closed his eyes, feathers started to fall. Explosions then went off. The Kages all jumped to the roof. As Naruto saw the Kage box exploded, he pulled out the Raijin blade. His Rinnegan springing to life. As the blade started to crackle with unusual amount of power. Time to spill some blood, he said, as he howled like a wolf. Up on the roof, the 5 Kages, along their bodyguard, stood there along with Orochimaru. As Orochimaru was smirking, in a yellow flash, Minato and Kushina appeared. Orochimaru smirked. Good. Everyone is here, he said. But I did not expect the legendary Batusai to be alive, or to be here. Neither did I expect Shishio, the Sword of Fire. But it doesn't matter, I got what I need to deal with all of you. He nodded towards the 5 shinobis behind him. 4 of them flashed toward the 4 corners of the roof. 4 violet flames formation as a massive purple barrier came up. Orochimaru wastes no time. Without say, he said. A number of coffins rose up. The first being Hashirama Senju himself. The next was his younger brother, Tobirama Senju. The third man was a rather dangerous man said to be stronger than all of his Sanins combined, Sakumo Hatake, the White Fang of Konoha. 4 other coffins opened up showing 4 members of the 12 Ninja Guardian. The first was a woman with black hair and yellow eyes. The second was a man with brown hair and dark eyes. The third, a short brown hair man with light eyes that were kind of light to the greenish point. The fourth one was a black-eyed man with brown hair. Another coffin flipped open. A man known as Jerry, as he possessed the explosion release bloodline from the hidden stone. Another coffin then opened up, and it was none other than Hanzo. Hanzo the Salamander. Orochimaru saw them all gaping in shock. He simply smirked. What? You thought I would come unprepared, he said. The Kage scowled. As Harrison turned towards Minato and Kushina, you two handle the first and the second. I will deal with Orochimaru and stop this. He ripped off his robe to reveal the battle armor underneath. He turned towards the Kage bodyguards. You guys handle the 4 ninja guardians. Lord Shishio, take out Orochimaru's guard. As a final member had stayed with Orochimaru, he curled his hands into fists as lightning surrounded him. I shall take the White Fang. Only he sighed as he started floated. I shall take Gari, he said, as Kenjin pulled out his blade. As golden dust surrounded Raza, as Mei flared her chakra, we shall handle Hanzo. Orochimaru chuckled. Let the battle begin, he said. Down below, the village was in a frenzy as sound shinobis and mercenaries, rogue shinobis, ronins, all kinds of shinobis from different eras and different places, all attacked the village. Massive snakes tried to invade, but Jiraiya of the Sannin summoned his toads and started to block them away. The important buildings were being guarded by envoys. As Jonins were battling, Chunin were instructing the Genins on what to do. The civilians and students were being brought towards the bunker. As Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, all of them were down below, as they were fighting with everything they got, including Pakura, Zabuza, Haku, the Demon Brothers. Killer Bee had his 8 blades as he was running through enemies after enemies. Kudro was using a massive hammer as he brought it down, smashing them one after another as they tried to attack the hospital, but Yujito and Gara stood there, fire and sand blocking them from getting any closer, as Orihime was using her special ability to block them. As Sasuke fought with the Sharingan, Shikamaru fought with the Shadow. Samui and Kurosaki stood in the center as they guard each other back as they faced off against Kunoichi and Shinobis. As Kabuto saw everything going on, the chaos, it was then that he felt it. He turned, but it was too late as his left arm was sliced clean off. Kabuto jumped back as he saw the mass of Naruto as Naruto moved. He teared right through Kabuto, but he switched the log at last moment. Kabuto appeared behind him and swung his scalpel as Naruto turned and gripped the arm right at the wrist, as Naruto then drive his blade deep into him as Kabuto spat out blood. Naruto slaved the blade into him and kicked him in the chest before he flashed behind Kabuto as he gripped the front of the blade and turned it around, literally severing him in half. Kabuto dropped towards the ground, bleeding out, as Naruto transformed his arm into a cannon and disintegrated him. His eyes then looked towards the barrier as he smirked and flashed away, moving like a maniac on the field. Some ninjas were dropping from left to right as he was like a blur of death. Meanwhile, with Minato and the second Hokage, the two of them were engaging each other in a fast-paced taijutsu match. Minato ducked under a right hook. He lashed out with a leg, but the second blocked. Minato leg was grabbed. The second twirled him away, but Minato vanished and appeared behind him, a Rasengan already formed. The man slammed his hand down as water came up, blocking Minato's technique. This kept going for quite a while, the both of them using speed towards their advantage. Minato flipped away as he threw kunais. Kunai cyclone technique as they split all over the area. Tobirama flashed through Hansa and released a tidal wave that rushed towards Minato. Minato flashed the wind yellow flash as a tidal wave decimated the area. The tidal wave then turned into a spear. It shot towards Minato the water, condensing at a fine rate that will literally tear him clean through. Minato brought out two of his konas as he slammed them together. As a tetragram formed in front of him, the water was absorbed. He then pointed towards Tobirama. The kunai behind Tobirama exploded the water upwards. As he simply teleported towards it, it slammed into the back of Tobirama. As Minato thrust forward, a Rasengan formed in seconds. He drove it into Tobirama's stomach, the explosion throwing the man back as he crashed. The gaping hole in his stomach. As he got back to his feet, Minato appeared behind him. A Rasengan tear out half of his face, allowing Minato to see the tag. Tobirama shot his arm forward, grabbing Minato by the throat. Minato quickly flashed away as he appeared to his side. Tobirama lashed out a leg, but Minato was already on as he leaped. He tapped his finger on the leg. With a single movement, he then flashed away. Tobirama flashed Johansson, but Minato appeared as he drove a Rasengan right into his face, destroying the tag completely. As the body crumbled into dust. The reanimations weren't perfect. Orochimaru did not complete the perfect technique, as the body fell apart after the tag was destroyed. Meanwhile, with Kushina and the first, Hoshirama created a farce. Kushina was physically strong, as she was clashing with the man in taijutsu, until she had to draw her katana, as she caught it in wind. Hoshirama created wood gauntlets on his arms. The punches were devastating, as Hoshirama shattered her blade with a punch. "That's my family's sword, you zombie," she said, as she sent a punch infused with so much shock as she shattered the wood over his hand. They battled like this for a while. As he started to overwhelm her, she jumped away. She released a jet of water, but he used a plants to block the technique. He then shot multiple wooden spears towards her. She leaped above it as a blade of wind caught her arm. She sliced as she tore through several vines before she landed calmly. She had to duck instantly, one of those spears whipping past her head. As she saw it, she then turned and tried to sweep away his leg, but he jumped and brought his fist down. She rolled. The ground underneath her cracked. He raised his arm as he formed a wooden spear. As he thrust it towards her, she jumped away. She spat water bullets towards him as he blocked it with the wooden spear. She created wind blades from both of her arms as she attacked. Every time she would cut him, he would just regenerate. It was impossible. She released her chakra chains as they started to decimate the wood in the area. As Hoshirama's power was still absolute, as he started to form vine after vine, wood spears after wood spears. But he was still not 100%. The Edo Tensei was not that perfect. As Kushina chains dug into him, as they wrapped around him tight and slammed him into the earth with so much momentum as his trees tried to invade her vision, but multiple chains came out of her like she was some kind of porcupine as they started to spin like a gig. She flashed through several hand signs as she created seals. She slapped them all over his body as she performed the Ram seal. As she used her chains with all her might to hold him down as the seals, all of them started to glow. His body started to disintegrate and break apart as the chains behind her kept on spinning, blocking off the wood strikes. Once his body was completely gone, she collapsed on the ground, panting exhaustedly. But she did. Meanwhile, with A versus Sakumo, A was having the advantage in a taijutsu match. He was faster than him. But the thing was, even with his hits and his attacks, Sakumo just kept on regenerating like it was nothing. As A grabbed him and threw him into the air, he then appeared as he slammed him into the earth. "Lion bomb," he said as he brought down his leg in an explosion. A leaped away as Sakumo started to regenerate like it was nothing. As Sakumo moved towards him as he thrust a fist towards A shrugged it off, his lightning armor protecting him. Sakumo flipped back as he launched a massive fireball towards him. A moved to the side, dodging. As Sakumo appeared with his white blade, he tried to slice A into pieces. A used his speed advantage to get around the swipes before he thrust both of his fists out They made contact at the same time as Sakamo's body was launched backwards. Sakamo then flashed right in front of Aoda Shanshin. As he was already in the process of releasing his technique, fire slammed into A's chest as the lightning armor tanked most of the technique, but the flame was still hot enough to injure him a bit. Sakamo created a massive earth dragon, but A thrust his fist right into the face, completely obliterating the thing. It was then that he thrust his arm out to the side. Lightning release. Lariat, he said. His hand literally teared through Sakamo's chest. Aiden grabbed his head as he charged his hand with nothing but raw, condensed lightning. He then brought the head down. It exploded along with the tag as he squeezed the remainder of the tag. Meanwhile, Oniki and Gari, as the both of them were clashing with rock techniques, Gari's explosion release was rather explosive as he was causing massive tremors. Oniki started to sweat as he had to stay his distance, creating earth golems and massive earth spears from the earth trying to swallow Gari down below. It wasn't that you could really fight Gari up close. His technique relied on him basically using his literal palms as explosions. He could literally touch you and the explosion would just go off. So it was hard to fight him up close, so Oniki had to stay his distance. Earth release. Swamp of the underworld, Oniki said. Mud surrounded Gari's legs as it made it impossible for him to move. Oniki didn't waste any time seeing the opportunity as he formed a white cube. As the white cube surrounded Gari, dust release detachment of the primitive world, Oniki said. Gari's body was vaporized into nothingness as Oniki dropped towards the ground, screaming in pain for his back. Meanwhile, with Kenshin, Mei, Raza versus Hanzo the Salamander. Despite the numbers, as the man was holding his own well, he was holding them back. Hanzo was a beast after all. Kenshin fought with his blade that was coated in chakra. He was supported by Raza, who tried to distract Hanzo with his golden dust, as Mei was providing long distance attacks, her affinities being quite deadly. As Hanzo Kizurigama was rather powerful at the end, with a ball on it with the spikes, tore through the area, forced them to leap away from him. As Kenshin had a special blade though. Dragon, solar flash, he said. He slashed through Hanzo's chin as he had to jump away, dodging the Kizurigama spike this time. As Hanzo regenerated rather instantaneously, Hanzo spewed out flames, but a wall of golden dust blocked Kenshin from getting burned. Mei and Kenshin jumped to each side as they spat out water dragons. Hanzo leaped up in the air, but an arm of sand grabbed his leg and threw him directly towards the attacks. His sides were completely burst off by the water as they tore through his sides. Raza, Mei yelled, trap his legs. Raza nodded as he thrust his hands into the ground. The sand came up like a torrent and grabbed onto Hanzo. He tried to deflect and dodge, but Kenshin placed him under heavy fire, so he had to land it as the sand then wrapped around his legs. Two orbs of water started to float around Mei. As she launched him forward, Kenshin used him as a stepping ladder as he flipped over Hanzo's attack. He brought his sword up in the sky. Dragon hammer flash. Disaster, he yelled as he stabbed his blade in the sack that Hanzo carried. Now, Kenshin yelled as Raza crushed Hanzo's legs. Maven spat out. Boil release. Skill mist. The mist swallowed Hanzo as it was at its fullest. His body was destroyed as Raza surrounded it in a golden dome as Kenshin placed a tag on it as it spread around the dome before it started to glow and it imploded on the inside. The sand vanished, showing the remains of Hanzo as he vanished into nothingness. Meanwhile, with Kimimaro versus Shishio, as Shishio looked towards the opponent, as he could already see the bones growing from his shoulders, as Kimimaro pulled both bones and held onto them, as Shishio simply smirked. Try to entertain me, he said. As Shishio then moved, Kimimaro blocked the attack, but they started grinding against his bones. Fire ignited on the blade. He instantaneously jumped back as a black mark was already in his chest from the heat. Kimimaro shot forward, but Shishio dodged and sliced. Kimimaro cursed as he looked on his chest. He was sliced, but the wound was instantly cauterized. Because of the intense heat, he activated his curse mark. This guy was no joke. He pulled out his spine like a whip as he created a massive bone drill as he thrust it forward first. Shishio though moved in towards the drill as he pushed his palm right forward as he released a fire-based explosion. The thing blew up right in Kimimara's face. As Shishio was gone, his bone drill was completely busted. A fist then embedded into his guts. His shoulder then got sliced. Another explosion occurred on his shoulder this time. He cried out in pain as his complete left side was blown to pieces by hot, inducing flames. He fired at least several bone bullets from his fingers as he collapsed down to his right side, bleeding rather heavily, bones sticking out of his arm. But Shishio sliced all of them with his flaming sword. As he then moved, he appeared behind Kimimaro and sheathed his blade. That was a good warm-up, he said, as he walked where Tenjin was. As Kimimaro's head fell off, the Guardians and the guards were in a heated match as they used combined attacks to take down all the Guardians. On the roof corner, Orochimaru was pissed, very pissed, as he clashed against Hiruzen. Impossible. You're just an old man. A weak old man. Why won't you fall? Sarutobi smirked as he pointed his staff towards Orochimaru. I am not as strong as I was in my prime, but I'm still strong enough to defeat you. The answer is simple. Training, he said, as he disappeared and reappeared above Orochimaru, swinging Enma down. Orochimaru blocked with the Kusanagi. Hiruzen knee Orochimaru right in the face as he grabbed his arm and twisted, the Kusanagi falling. Hiruzen slammed him in the roof before delivering a bone-crushing kick and launching Orochimaru back. As Orochimaru then saw a wave, the wave of golden dust slam into him. Aiden appeared and slammed him right into the roof once again. It was then that Minato appeared with a Rasengan. As he slammed it in his stomach, he dropped as he quickly tried to flee away, but a blade thrust right through his shoulder from Kushina. As Minato reappeared and slammed the Rasengan through his back, he opened his mouth as a new Orochimaru leaped out. But despite being new and fresh, he was panting exhaustedly. He turned to notice all the reanimation, and Kimimaro dead. It was then that the top of the barrier exploded by a massive thunderbolt as Naruto dropped like a bomb, blowing everyone away in the process. His eyes fixed on Orochimaru. Orochimaru scowled as Naruto moved, so did Orochimaru as he picked up his Kusanagi blade on the way. A vicious, devilish grin on Naruto's face. But guys, if you ain't subscribed right here, if you want to see next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.